to the third day of the Student Governance Tokyo Conference. This is the final day of the conference, and we are starting with one of the highlights of this whole conference, which is about the plenary on nuclear safety and post-disaster governance. As I briefly pointed out at the opening plenary, this conference itself had to be postponed from the original plan because of the event, that tragic event that hit us on the 11th of March in 2011. And almost 2 years have passed since then, and it's around the time that we reflect what we can learn from that tragedy and disaster we went through. So this plenary is dedicated for thinking about what kind of lessons we could learn from this triple disaster that Japan went through. And many issues are related to governance issues, including system governance. We have 4 speakers, 4 panelists, and 1 keynote speaker in this session. And we would like to open this session with our honorable guest keynote speaker, Professor Kiyoshi Furukawa. He was a former chair of National Diet of Japan Fukushima Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation Commission, which had great impact on the reflection of what happened around the Fukushima disaster. And among other titles, he's an academic fellow of National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, and also he's a former president of the Science Council of Japan. So I'd like to invite Professor Furukawa to the podium. Professor Furukawa, please.
Thank you, and good morning, and it's a privilege to be invited to communicate with you today. In fact, I didn't know the entire program of these 3 days and even this morning, and so I was not so sure what the core message of my plenary to be of this last day. So that I prepared a slightly different twist, not necessarily focusing on the Fukushima Nuclear Commission, which I headed last December through July, that has been 6 months mandate. And I think maybe I might touch upon this implication of this commission. Perhaps some of you might have seen some of the news coverage when we submitted this commission, which is the first time in the Japanese history, which is in my view a bit crazy. In fact, I think that should have been done more often. But let's see, because of 3 days session and this is the last day, I'd like to share with a bigger frame of what may be happening. So I chose the title of my speech to be Uncertain Times, Changing Principles. And how many of you predicted what may happen in Algeria 2 weeks ago, right, a month ago? That's unpredictable. So next month, who knows what may happen, right? Now, so I think let me go over with you. These are one of the major concerns of your focus, climate change, inconvenient truths, and see this is what happened over the last 10 years through 9/11, and then invasion into Iraq, and now what's happening in the Middle East. And then also you might know what's happening very rapidly over the last decade or so, with many connectivity and tools to connect you much easier. And just remember this, iPad, you use that, no? And when this came to market, do you remember? Just exactly 3 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago, January 29th of the year 2010, Steve Jobs showed it as a big surprise. So less than 3 years, many of you use it. That's a rapidity and rapidity of this delivery and spread out and easy access and change your way of living, and even Newsweek and New York Times both will go online. So that's the impact. And there's nothing new in this gadget. He created this gadget. And all the machines and combinations of tools are nothing new. So that's innovation, creating a new value with new combinations. And Wikipedia, WikiLeaks. So whatever you try to hide, eventually you lose your trust. So transparency becomes a key. Either it's a corporate or government or whatever have you. So what comes to privacy, and that is one of the challenge. And Twitter and Facebook. And Arab Spring, 2 years ago, that happened in December 17th in year 2010, slightly more than 2 years. And that's triggered by perhaps Twitter, the whole things in Tunisia, spread out to Libya, and spread to Egypt, and President Mubarak was forced out of this Egypt in February 11th, just exactly 1 month before the 3/11 earthquake of Fukushima nuclear. You remember the rapidity of things which happened in the past. And Bahrain with Sunni and Shiite, some sort of minor, small-scale fights, and then Saudi, and Iran, and Iraqi, now Syria. And Libya, obviously, Gaddafi-san was spelled out. So that's within 2 years' time. We tend to forget already. So what's going to happen 2 years from now? That's much faster, many things will happen. Now then 3/11, exactly 1 month after President Mubarak was forced to leave Egypt. Now this is one of the major earthquakes and tsunami since perhaps year 2004 in December. You remember in Aceh tsunami? That was 6-7 years ago. And one of the byproducts was Fukushima nuclear, which is a major disaster, which really had a lot of attention from the world audience. But if you see, because nuclear is a world relevance, although tsunami is a massive tragedy, but it's a local Japanese issue. This incident, because of nuclear accident, reveals the weakness and strengths of Japanese in general. Local people on the ground work very hard and work very calm in this major tragedy of tsunami. But everybody watched this nuclear accident, which followed 1 hour after this tsunami thing, and everybody watched what's happening with the nuclear thing, because I think we expected more and more nuclear plants to be generated, planted, created, in coming maybe decade or two, right? But I think everybody watch TV and Japanese news and internet and telephone interview every day, and everybody begin to realize, although all the press release delivered in Japanese, everybody translate right away, and everybody noticed Japanese government and telephone and press and so-called experts are not telling the truth, hiding something. And within 2 weeks, and Japanese establishment lost the credibility of the world. No, that's what they did. So again, transparency is the key. All this unpredictability, and what may happen, what happened 2 years ago, and what may happen a year from now, unpredictable. So that was the reason I chose the title of Uncertain Times and Changing Principles. Why uncertain times? Perhaps we can boil down to 2 factors why it becomes so. One is explosion of human population you are addressing right now. And if you look at this on the lower hand, let's see where pointer. Yeah. No pointer?